When my mother said, "Don't wear your uniform. You'll make everyone uncomfortable," I didn't argue. I just stared at her, trying to understand how years of dedication could still render me a source of embarrassment. She never asked about my service. She never knew. And that night at my brother's wedding, when 300 people chuckled at my modest Air Force rank, I finally realized the people closest to you can sometimes be the cruelest in underestimating you. My name is Belle Maddox, and that evening, silence became my sharpest weapon. Late October sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting thin stripes across my small wooden desk. My tea sat untouched, now cold, its surface smooth as glass. Next to it were piles of training manuals I hadn't opened in weeks, and a small wooden box I couldn't bring myself to unlock. Inside were pieces of a life I never spoke of, medals, ribbons, locations, and names no one in my family ever cared to remember. The doorbell rang. I expected a neighbor. Instead, a mail carrier handed me a cream-colored envelope, the kind reserved for celebrations. My stomach twisted as I recognized the handwriting, my mother's. Her cursive always seemed elegant yet sharp, precise yet distant. The envelope read, "Colin and Meredith's wedding, Magnolia Plantation, October 14th. I stared at it until a small note slipped from between the folds, smudged from haste, but still piercing. "Don't wear your uniform. You'll make everyone uncomfortable." I placed it on the desk. The words hung in the air like frost. 20 years of service, and in their eyes, I remained the daughter who caused embarrassment. I looked at the photographs above my desk, silent proof of a life my family ignored. Me in desert flight gear, standing with my squadron in Kandahar. Me at a NATO base in Germany. Me shaking hands with generals, faces half hidden by snow. Not one person had ever asked about these moments. Instead, the conversation always circled back to Colin, the family golden boy. Captain Maddox, the pride of them all. After Dad passed, Mom funneled every expectation into him. I had chosen a different path, one she never understood, and she never let me forget it. I walked to the closet. My uniform hung perfectly pressed, brass shining, nameplate clear, B. Maddox. I brushed my hand over the shoulder. The faint scent of sand and wind lingered, like a memory refusing to fade. Perhaps they would never know me, not truly. I closed the closet door. But my choice was already made. I would attend the wedding, not to prove anything, not to earn approval, but to confront the silence I had carried for 20 years. On the desk, the wedding invitation and a medal glimmered in the final rays of sunlight. Two worlds, never meant to meet, now lay side by side. I slipped both into my bag, glanced at the window where moss-draped oaks leaned toward the road, and felt the reckoning awaiting me. Magnolia Plantation was a picture of southern grandeur. Oaks heavy with moss, lanterns swaying in the evening breeze, guests sparkling beneath golden light. I parked, drew a deep breath, and stepped into a place that had never seemed to have room for me. Inside, the hostess glanced at the seating chart, hesitated, and smiled too quickly. "Table 12, near the back," she said. Of course. The table sat near the catering station, where waiters brushed past carrying trays of champagne. At the front, my mother shone beneath chandeliers beside Colin and Meredith, who embodied the perfect Southern bride. Her father raised a glass. "The Maddox family has raised a true gentleman and officer. We are honored to welcome him." Applause rolled through the room. Not a single word about me. A woman nearby whispered, "That's his sister. Retired Air Force or something, probably admin work." Laughter followed, polite but sharp. I stared out at the water glimmering beneath the lights and stayed silent. A small boy dashed past, spilling water on my dress. He froze, wide-eyed. I smiled softly. "It's okay. Accidents happen when you move too fast." He ran off, and I realized how true that was. My family had been rushing through life, chasing admiration while leaving me behind. Applause erupted for Colin again. I tapped the tablecloth lightly. My mother's eyes found mine, a warning to stay silent. I smiled back. Words were unnecessary. Soon enough, the truth would speak for itself. Outside, the night smelled of jasmine and champagne. Laughter floated from the ballroom, distant and bright. Through the open doors, I caught my mother's low, sharp voice. Colin is the only one who truly makes me proud. She's never understood real sacrifice. The glass quivered lightly in my grip. True sacrifice. I had sent men into combat, drafted the letters that carried their names to grieving families. I had buried friends and carried their memories with me. Yet to her, I remained a failure. I didn't enter the room. Silence had long taught me more than any argument ever could. A figure stepped out for air, squinting toward me in the dim light. "You're Maddox, right? From Ramstein?" I nodded. He offered a faint smile. "I've heard about a commander who never raised her voice yet always got results. That's you, isn't it?" I met his gaze, a small, knowing curve of lips. "I suppose it is." He nodded respectfully and retreated inside. Outside, the river reflected the moon, smooth and endless. I lingered, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down. If anyone truly understood who I was, would they still mock me? Perhaps. But soon, my words wouldn't be necessary. The night had already picked its moment. A gentle wind rustled the oak leaves, like a quiet promise. This celebration was far from over. Inside, the ballroom glimmered beneath golden chandeliers, the light scattering across polished marble and sparkling glass. A jazz trio's notes intertwined with laughter, drifting through the air. I stayed near the wall, observing the head table where my mother sat, radiant and composed, framed by Colin and his bride, a picture-perfect Southern tableau. Colin's uniform caught the light at every angle, his captain's insignia gleaming. The MC raised the microphone, voice smooth and practiced. "Tonight we honor a true hero, Captain Colin Maddox, a man devoted to family and country." Applause rolled through the room. My mother's smile shone with pride. No one glanced my way as the clinking of glasses resumed. A man at my table leaned back, his laughter thick with wine and bravado. "You were Air Force, right? Must have been nice. Desk job, air conditioning, no mud." The room laughed along with him. I set my glass down with deliberate care. "Not exactly. I trained combat pilots in Kandahar, 2 tours." He blinked, skeptical. "Women can do that now." More laughter. My mother turned away, and Colin lowered his eyes. I offered a controlled, almost mechanical smile, honed over years of discipline. "Ranks don't matter at weddings," I said. "Exactly. Tonight we're all equal," he replied. "Not until they are," I said evenly. Silence pressed against him. He laughed awkwardly, a sound meant to fill the pause, but it fell flat. A drop of red wine slipped from my glass, dark against the white linen like a tiny wound. A waiter's gaze lingered briefly, sympathy in his eyes. The music slowed, softer now, as though the room itself sensed the storm gathering. I rose, leaving the fading laughter behind, and stepped onto the veranda. The cool air brushed my hair, my heartbeat settling into the measured rhythm of a soldier who has learned patience. Anger was gone. What remained was steadier, colder, a calm before the strike. The party surged back into motion inside. Then, the low rumble of engines rolled across the night. Headlights cut through the trees, sweeping the lawn before halting at the gate. Murmur spread through the guests. The MC leaned close as a staff member whispered urgently, "Sir, there's a general outside. He says he was invited." My pulse remained even. I already knew. The doors swung open. A tall figure in dress uniform entered, metals catching the chandelier's light. Instinctively, the room rose. "General Arthur Keene," the MC announced. Colin hurried forward, smile fixed. "General, we're honored you could attend." Keene's gaze swept the room, then rested on me in the corner. Recognition sharpened his expression. His voice carried across the hall. "And where is Commander Maddox?" Confusion rippled among the guests. Colin faltered. "You mean Commander Belle Maddox? She is here, isn't she?" Chairs scraped as everyone turned. I rose, each movement deliberate. My heels clicked against the floor, slicing through the stunned silence. Keene straightened, saluted. "Ma'am, permission to approach." The air seemed to crack. I walked forward, slow and precise. The gold stars on his shoulders gleamed. The room held its breath. My mother's face paled. Colin's jaw slackened. Keene extended his hand. It is an honor to serve under your command again, Commander Maddox. Your leadership has saved more lives than any medal could ever measure. A ripple of astonishment swept through the assembly. Somewhere near the press row, a hushed voice murmured, Maddox, wasn't she the first woman to command a NATO air division? Whispers multiplied, colliding into disbelief and quiet awe. Meredith turned to Colin, her voice trembling. You never said your sister outranked you. Near the window, a small flag twitched in the breeze drifting through the open doors. A glass shattered at the back of the hall, the sound sharp, abrupt. The spotlight landed on the nameplate of my dress uniform, B. Maddox. For the first time all evening, it was no longer something to conceal. I scanned the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for a leader whose guidance has touched lives. 300 individuals rose. The silence that followed felt overwhelming. I didn't grin. I didn't weep. I merely straightened my posture, shoulders squared, head inclined slightly. It was the only language I knew for reclaiming my dignity without a single word. The orchestra paused mid-note. General Keene held his salute, unwavering. Chandelier lights gleamed against my nameplate, sharp and unyielding. Through the microphone, his voice resonated. It is an honor to serve under your command again, Commander Maddox. Your leadership has saved more lives than any decoration ever could. I met his gaze. Teamwork, General, always has been. Gasps spread through the room. A reporter whispered, Wait? The Operation Sentinel team turned toward me. Colin's mouth opened. That was you. A woman who had mocked me earlier set down her glass, trembling. Meredith seemed dazed. My mother's eyes filled with tears, unblinking. A waiter murmured softly, Ma'am. Colin tried to speak, but I cut him off silently. She never needed anyone to announce her, I thought. The flag above the balcony rippled, as if saluting too. Keene looked at me. Commander, would you care to address the audience? I took the microphone. My heart beat steady as years of restraint found their voice. Respect is never given by birthright, I said. It is earned. No applause followed, only an almost tangible stillness. My mother pressed her hand to her mouth, quietly weeping. For once, every gaze in the room lingered. Keene saluted once more, and the crowd followed, 300 strong, standing without command. Colin approached cautiously. Why didn't you tell us? I met his eyes. Because you never asked. Keene moved toward my mother. Ma'am, I had the privilege of serving under your daughter. Her strategies saved my unit. I am here tonight to honor her. Her voice cracked. I told her not to wear the uniform. Keene nodded. You should be proud she didn't need it. Tears rolled down her cheeks. A group of young officers approached. Ma'am, one whispered, you've shown us what humility truly looks like. They saluted and departed quietly. I stepped outside. The moonlight brushed the river. Music drifted softly from inside. Moon River, but its notes no longer belonged to me. My role in the evening was complete. Keene joined me on the steps, posture relaxed, but eyes alert. You managed that better than any debrief I've witnessed, he said. I offered a faint smile. I've survived worse briefings. He chuckled softly. A quiet understanding between soldiers. Some battles are fought without weapons. At my car, he noticed the leather bag on the passenger seat, zipper slightly open, the folded uniform peeking out. You didn't wear it, did you? She told me not to, I whispered. He gave a single nod. It made no difference. The uniform spoke on its own. My voice never had a chance. He was right. Tonight, no medals or insignia were needed. The truth shone through without decoration. As I drove past the gates of Magnolia, my headlights brushed over the flag, still fluttering in the breeze. I pulled over by the river, rolled down the window, and murmured quietly. For the first time, they truly saw me, but I didn't need them to. Then, I turned the music up, letting it fill the car, and drove into the calm, finally unburdened. 2 weeks after the wedding, I returned to my modest Charleston home. The air was thick with the scent of rain and salt from the harbor, lingering after a storm. On the kitchen table lay 2 envelopes, one from my mother, one from Colin. For a moment, I simply stared at them, tracing the familiar name Maddox written across each one. I brewed a pot of tea, letting the steam curl into the quiet, and opened the first. My mother's handwriting wavered, her words unsteady yet heartfelt. You've shown me that silence can hold more dignity than pride ever will. I was wrong to think a woman's honor depended on obedience. I didn't know the burdens you carried all these years, but I understand now. I am proud of you, even if it took me too long to say it. I folded the letter gently. Tears came, but they were light. They carried relief, not sorrow. The second envelope was from Colin. His writing was strong, a little uneven, but full of warmth. I was proud that night, not because of what you accomplished, but because of who you are. The proudest moment of my wedding wasn't saying I do. It was seeing the true strength of my sister. A soft, genuine smile spread across my face. For the first time, the word sister felt real, earned, not given. I opened my old service scrapbook and slid in the photo Colin had enclosed, me shaking hands with General Keane under the wedding chandelier's warm glow. Beside it, I tucked an older photo of my squadron in Afghanistan, dust-streaked and grinning beneath the desert sun. Two worlds that had never overlapped now shared a page. Family and duty, peace and battle, no longer separate. I closed the book and whispered to myself, they finally saw me. But you always did. I said it for the ones who never came home, for those who never stopped believing. And for the first time, that was enough. A year later, on a crisp October morning, I drove to Arlington. The city was bathed in soft golden light, quiet except for the rustle of leaves. Beyond the gates, white and blue flags stretched across the hill like ripples of memory reaching toward the horizon. I carried a bouquet of white lilies and the photograph from Colin's wedding, a reminder of the distance I had traveled from that night. The wind whispered through the trees as I walked the familiar gravel path. No music, no applause, no voices filling the silence, just steady, deliberate footsteps. Each echoed the names of those who couldn't continue. At the front, Major General Keane read from a trembling list. His voice was deep, reverent, steadying the air itself. Then his gaze met mine, and he said softly, to Commander Maddox, the quiet leader this country still needs. Heads turned. I did not rise. Instead, I placed my hand over my heart, stood at attention, and bowed my head. It was enough. My silence had always spoken louder than any applause. After the ceremony, I walked to a secluded corner of the cemetery, where the oldest stones caught the morning sun. I knelt before one marked Captain John Rivers. Following his lead, I placed the flowers gently against the granite and whispered, they finally saw me, John. But you saw me first. A sudden breeze lifted, rustling the flags like countless hands raised in salute. I stood slowly, shoulder square, returning a single, measured gesture forged by habit and respect. From a distance, it may have looked like just another quiet ceremony. One woman in a gray coat among the flags, but within that silence settled something immense, a dignity that needed no audience, a peace that required no words. I turned to leave, the lilies swaying gently in the wind behind me.